bury the two of you.
What a fucking pussy.
First aired in 2002, The Mask is one of the most emotionally layered and unsettling episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog, a series already known for pushing the boundaries of children's animation. You know an episode of Courage is serious when the runtime is 22 minutes long. Only 2 episodes in the series have this long of a runtime: The Mask and The Tower of Dr. Zalos. The episode begins peacefully on the back farm with Courage napping outside. That peace is shattered when a mysterious figure in a white cloak and a giant mask, Kitty, approaches. She immediately attacks Courage with a barrage of household objects, including a kitchen sink and a washing machine.
Escucha las palabras de las brujas, los secretos escondidos en la noche. Los antiguos dioses invocamos ahora la obra de la magia oculta.
I swear, Courage stayed collecting ops and catching unprovoked strays. Muriel, ever kind-hearted and oblivious, assumes Kitty is one of Courage's new friends and invites her in for tea, even though Courage was just violently assaulted. Clearly, Muriel didn't watch the movie Sinners. Be careful on who you're inviting into your crib, but bless Muriel's beautiful heart. I understand she's in her, early 70s at best, but if I saw a random-ass white cloak figure assaulting and beating my precious dog half to death, best believe I'm getting the shoddy and not inviting her in for tea. Speaking of tea, Kitty tells Muriel about her best friend Bunny, who fell in love with a gangster named Mad Dog. Her voice is heavy with sadness and anger.
He treats her like she's a slave.
My kind of guy.
Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? What's that, brother?
Kitty tried to save Bunny from the toxic relationship, but things went south. Now she's on the run, blaming all dogs for her suffering, projecting her trauma onto an entire species. Courage, unfortunately, becomes her scapegoat. Kitty then out of nowhere smashes her place off the table and declares her contempt for dogs in response to Eustace's order for her to take off her mask.
Oh, hell no.
First you assault my dog Courage outside his own crib, then unexpectedly trauma dumped on me and my entire family.
He calls me his little chihuahua. When I was a kid, my dad beat the shit out of me.
And break my fine china tea set. Maybe I'm too mean, but the way I would have expeditiously thrown her out onto the curb? Like, what do you do in this scenario when a total stranger tells you that her situationship is with an abusive gangster and now she's on the run for the rest of her life? Her hatred continues to erupt in bursts of violence when Courage is watching TV alone in the living room, and later when he's unclogging the toilet in the bathroom, Kitty attacks him impulsively. I may be overanalyzing this, but is Kitty attempting to make Courage feel like it's dinner time, and Courage is so terrified of catching more hands from Kitty, he's hiding underneath Muriel's seat. Eustace makes another remark about Kitty's mask at dinner, which prevents her from eating or drinking. Not me agreeing with Eustace. What has the world come to? In response, Kitty says she wears it because she can't handle reality. When Muriel responds that everyone must confront reality eventually, Kitty retaliates by pointing out their own problems, such as Eustace's embarrassing incompetence at repairs and Muriel's nocturnal habit of devouring too many sweets. Kitty, have you ever heard of decorum or proper kitchen etiquette? Not you spying on the people who invited you into their home and you putting them on blast. After eating, Muriel gets the attic ready for Kitty. Courage watches Kitty as she gets ready for bed and notices that she's playing with a toy mouse that Bunny gave her. When Kitty removes her mask, Courage is horrified to see that she's a cat.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
And is persuaded that the mask is evil as he starts to have paranoid thoughts. Oh no, I know Courage is having war flashbacks because the last cat that attacked him on a regular basis is his #1 arch nemesis, Cats, with a capital K ending with a Z. His paranoia and actions he does later on are justified. Wasting no time, Courage in a frenzy informs Eustace and Muriel that the mask is a dangerous monster. Courage then confines his owners and Kitty in their room rooms while he takes the latter's toy mouse, presumably as evidence for the police to keep them safe. After stealing Kitty's beloved toy mouse, Courage, in a determined panic, takes the keys to the truck and drives off in the middle of the night. The tension in this episode is so palpable, you can cut it with a knife. Courage heads off to a seedy part of town to find Bunny. He ends up in a diner where he meets Charlie the Mouse, who is the best reoccurring character after Shirley and Dr. Vindaloo. Charlie gives us more insight into Bunny and Kitty's close bond. Charlie hints that Bunny and Kitty were more than friends.
He didn't like him being so friendly-like.
Let's go! Let's go, lesbians! Let's go! Let's go, lesbians! Let's go! Oh, lesbians!
Hint, hint. Wink, wink. It's a delicate coded nod to a possible romantic relationship between the two. A rare and brave choice for an episode that aired in 2002 on a children's show. And not to get sidetracked, but do any of you consider Courage the Cowardly Dog a kids show?
No ma'am. No ma'am. No ma'am.
I only ask because the episode was banned in France because it contains more nightmare fuel than usual. When we return to the farmhouse, we find Muriel in a panic because she has to use the bathroom urgently and the door is locked. She wakes up Eustace, who basically confirms Kitty's earlier remarks about his incapacity by failing to open the door and kick it down. Muriel adds more salt to the wound, agreeing with Kitty's words.
Kitty was right about you. You can't fix a thing.
Oh my god, it's not funny. We switch back to Courage, who is parking the truck as he crosses to the wrong side of the tracks and approaches a big rundown building with a menacing red light coming from its windows.
Move your tail, bunny.
I think we should kill this mom.
Back with Kitty, she wakes up and discovers that the mouse she was holding onto is gone. She becomes alarmed as she yells and accuses Courage of taking the mouse, leading Muriel to believe that Kitty is in danger.
I take you from a two-bit joint and make you a class act. Bury the Toya.
Ooh, no. I'm greatly uncomfortable. My heart breaks when I see young women fall for guys like Mad Dog. It's like, you're shitty, abusive, and I can't have no friends? It's just you and your gang of must 24/7? No days off? I will say this, and I will say this as many times as I have to. Ladies, your kitty cat cannot fix or heal him. Only therapy and self-healing will do that. Bunny starts sobbing and Mad Dog wraps his arm around her in comfort. Ew, don't touch her. Bunny, done playing these games, grabs his collar and places it on a light fixture as she makes a run for it. I know that's right. Be proactive. We all collectively see this go bag, right? Bunny was ready to dip out on Mad Dog for a hot minute. Just when you thought Bunny was finally gonna get her freedom, two large-built Dobermans, yes, if any of you were unaware, the breed Mad Dog and his gang are Doberman Pinschers, stop Bunny in her tracks. We hear her struggling against them as Courage is outside the window on the fire escape. We cut back to the eerie building where we see Bunny trapped in a flower pot? I'm not the only one who's scared of what this imagery is alluding to, right? Courage makes his appearance known, which frightens Bunny. I mean, to be fair, she has every right to have this reaction due to her traumatic experience she had with Mad Dog. To her, all dogs are evil and will do nothing but irreparable harm. This is why I love Courage. He's going above and beyond to help someone who is a total stranger to him. Courage quickly digs Bunny out until one of the gang members hears the disturbance and walks in. We see Courage turn off the lights and bonks the Doberman with a shovel, leaving him wounded and comatose. Rat-infested, decrepit building, which got me thinking, Mad Dog, you can afford a nice pimp my ride ass car, but got your girlfriend Bunny living in these conditions? Brokey. Yeah. Does he even make money or even hustle? Tunes, you're thinking way too deeply into this. Let me get back to the story. Courage went into town and beat the living hell out of these two gang members. Mouse sported massive head lumps and buried them in a flower pot that Bunny was in. Mad Dog, hearing all that commotion, approaches the door, and Courage, for the second time in this episode, yeets himself out the window and escapes with Bunny. With the sound of the oncoming train from a distance, we see Courage and Bunny fleeing on foot. Mad Dog is in hot pursuit of the two in his pink vehicle in the meantime. Courage orders Bunny to flee. He kindly returns back her toy mouse, making himself an ideal target for Mad Dog to attack. However, Mad Dog is smarter than we give him credit for. At the last second, he Tokyo drifts his car and chases after her at full speed. He's completely prepared to run Bunny down in cold blood. Is it that serious? He really said with his actions and body language, if I can't have you, nobody else can. Courage, who's chasing after the vehicle on all fours, leaps to the back of the window, grabs the steering wheel, and gets the car on the train tracks, colliding head first with the train. At the end of the train, Kitty appears in the final car and calls out to Bunny, who runs to catch up to her.
I was wrong, Bunny. Not all dogs are bad. Now we can be best friends forever.
This is definitely fruity.
Courage had one hell of a night as he drives the truck home in the morning. Muriel explains that they have been waiting for him all night as he jumps onto her lap to finally sleep. Whew! That was a lot to unpack, huh? One of the most compelling aspects of the mask is how it uses metaphor and symbolism to address serious social issues. The dogs in the episode represent men. Mad Dog, a symbol of toxic masculinity and abuse, and Courage, the antithesis, a gentle, empathetic soul who uses kindness and bravery instead of violence. Courage challenges traditional gender expectations. He's small, anxious, and vulnerable, yet he's the only one who acts heroically. His courage lies not in brute strength, but in his willingness to do what's right despite his fear. In contrast, Mad Dog's violence masks deep insecurity, a critique on how some men express power through domination. Kitty's belief that all dogs are evil reflects a broader theme of how trauma can lead to prejudice and result in bias and generalizations. Similar to how people with trauma frequently find it difficult to face their suffering, Kitty's mask represents her incapacity to face reality. Kitty conceals her face, emotional wounds from Mad Dog's brutality, and weakness by donning the mask. What truly amazes me is that it took one dog to make Kitty hate an entire species, and it took one to change her mind and worldview of them. Although never stated outright, the bond between Bunny and Kitty carries clear romantic undertones. Kitty's desperation to save Bunny, her emotional devastation, and their final embrace suggest a love deeper than friendship.
Let's go, lesbians, let's go! Let's go, lesbians, let's go! Sure, yes, let's go, lesbians, let's go!
In 2002, explicit LGBT content was rare in children's television, but The Mask found a quiet, respectful way to depict it. Mad Dog, a large, menacing red Doberman, embodies the stereotypical abusive partner. He isolates Bunny, controls her environment, and lashes out at anyone who threatens his dominance. He sees Bunny not as a partner but as property. His raggedy-ass apartment, isolated by train tracks, represents a boundary between love and control, freedom and imprisonment. His violent possessiveness is what drives Kitty to flee, setting the whole story in motion. The portrayal of Mad Dog is shown as more than just a villain. Mad Dog's evil is disturbingly genuine. Compared to other antagonists in Courage the Cowardly Dog, who are frequently exaggerated or supernatural, he isn't driven by the typical cartoon villain tropes of world dominance or making a statement. Rather, he's a control freak who is driven by his insecurities and need to assert dominance over those weaker than him. His character illustrates how manipulation and envy can ruin relationships and lives, bringing the brutal reality of domestic violence into a children's show. Bunny's storyline is especially heartbreaking. Like many real-world victim, she feels trapped. Mad Dog uses intimidation and manipulation to keep her under his control while society turns a blind eye. Even her bond with Kitty becomes a threat in Mad Dog's eyes. One of the most harrowing moments in The Mask is when Courage finds Bunny buried in a flower pot, with only her head sticking out from the soil. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, Toons, how is that scary? On the surface is a bizarre, surreal image, but the symbolism is deeply disturbing. Being buried like this, immobilized, hidden, and partially exposed, can be interpreted as a visual metaphor for SA, meaning they deflowered Bunny. It conveyed that she was dirty or soiled. The flower pot becomes a symbol of how Mad Dog and his gang have violated her bodily autonomy, treating her as an object to be owned, silenced, and displayed. She looks broken, as if she has resigned herself to this abuse. The fact that his gang is complicit adds to the terror, suggesting that Bunny may have suffered collective violence not just from one abuser but from multiple people. But here's the bright side to it all. When Courage pulls her from the flower pot, it becomes a symbolic rebirth. She's free, not just from the dirt but from the prison Mad Dog built around her. When comparing The Mask from Courage the Cowardly Dog to other animated shows that tackle similar themes, its thoughtful and respectful handling a serious issue becomes especially apparent, particularly when contrasted with episodes like Family Guy Screams of the Silence, the story of Brenda Q. While both episodes address domestic abuse, their approaches couldn't be any more different. Family Guy attempts to maintain its trademark humor even while depicting an abusive relationship, but the result is a tonal mismatch. The episode's most jarring moment comes when Quagmire scolds his sister Brenda, essentially blaming her for staying with her abusive partner.
The person I see before me now is just a punching bag. And I call you person and not woman because a woman is a strong, beautiful, vibrant creature. A woman embraces life. A woman makes choices to make her life better. Sadly, the fact that you are with Jeff proves to me that you have made a choice to make your life worse.
Hello? Glenn Quagmire, I know damn well you is not talking. The amount of things you have done to women do not get me started. Instead of offering empathy or insight, the show delivers a lecture that feels tone deaf and offensive. The attempt to use crude humor with serious subject matters leads to emotional dissonance, making the episode feel cringeworthy and uncomfortable rather than impactful or thought-provoking. Going back to The Mask, it doesn't try to dilute its message with comedy. It remains grounded in Courage's signature surreal and unsettling atmosphere, but it treats the subject of abuse with quiet seriousness and emotional depth. It explores several themes without ever undercutting its own message. In a candid review, series creator John R. Dilworth expressed genuine astonishment that Cartoon Network even approved The Mask. He was surprised that such a deeply sensitive episode, one that deals with domestic violence, toxic relationships, and the psychological scars of abuse, was allowed to air on a children's network.
I just know something bad is going to happen. Huh?
Cartoon Network could have easily avoided depicting heavier issues because it is a children's show, but instead they permitted the creators to tell a narrative that felt authentic, timely, and unvarnished. It speaks to audiences of all ages, providing insight into the intricacies of abuse and the value of courage in the face of hardships in the real world, as well as confronting your monsters. This episode gave younger audiences a glimpse into the realities of abusive relationships while portraying characters who, despite their hardships, find a way to survive and support each other. It remains a testament to the show's depth and the courage of those who greenlit and created it. Hands down, The Mask is widely regarded as one of the darkest and most impactful episodes of Courage the Cowardly Dog, and for good reason.
Hello, motherfucker.
No. We are not talking about the remembrance of Courage Past. Unless y'all want to hear me sobbing through the mic, we're not even going there. This episode tackles complex and sensitive topics with a level of emotional maturity rarely seen in children's animation. And what I mean by that, it doesn't treat its audience like they're stupid. It doesn't spoon them every little thing that's happening on the screen. And I don't care what nobody says, The Mask is a timeless classic and a meaningful story that demonstrates how real world problems can still be handled with tact, impact, and care even in an outlandish animated universe. And as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss any future updates on your favorite shows. Let me know in the comments below what was your favorite episode of Courage the Cowardly Dog and which one should I talk about next. And do you think The Mask is the darkest episode of the series? And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!